Imagine becoming so famous that a 5-second gesture changes your life forever. A single movement, a pinch of salt, and suddenly the entire world knows your name. Hollywood celebrities copied him. Soccer superstars wanted photos with him. Billionaires paid thousands of dollars, not just for a steak, but for the chance to watch him serve it. For a moment, it seemed like he had everything: money, fame, power, influence. But fame has a strange way of testing people, because sometimes the very thing that makes you famous can also become the reason the world turns against you. This is the unbelievable story of Salt Bae. Welcome to Chill or Feel. On this channel, we explore the extraordinary stories behind the world's biggest names, the moments that built them, and the decisions that nearly destroyed them. If you enjoy documentaries that go beyond the headlines, you're in the right place. Now, let's begin. Before the fame, long before the designer sunglasses, before the luxury restaurants, before millions of Instagram followers, there was simply a boy named Nusret Gökçe. He was born in a small town in Turkey. His family wasn't wealthy. His father worked in a mine, doing one of the hardest jobs imaginable. Every day was about survival. Not comfort, not luxury, just survival. When Nusret was only 13 years old, he left school. Not because he lacked ambition, because his family needed another income. So while most teenagers were sitting in classrooms, he was standing inside a butcher shop, learning how to cut meat, clean equipment, carry heavy loads, and work from sunrise until late at night. There were no cameras watching, no applause, no shortcuts, only discipline, only repetition, only hard work. Years later, people would call him an overnight success, but they never saw the thousands of ordinary days that made that success possible. Learning the craft. Most people think success begins with opportunity. For Nusret, it began with obsession. He didn't just want a job, he wanted mastery. He studied every cut of meat, every cooking technique, every detail of presentation. As he moved between restaurants across Turkey, his confidence quietly grew. But one realization changed everything. If he wanted to build something extraordinary, he couldn't only learn from his hometown. He needed to understand how the world's best restaurants operated. So he traveled abroad, not as a celebrity, not as a millionaire, but as a student. Watching, learning, taking notes, studying how premium steakhouses created experiences, not just meals. That journey gave him something far more valuable than money. It gave him a vision. The dream becomes reality. Back in Turkey, Nusret opened his first restaurant. It wasn't large, it wasn't luxurious, it didn't have celebrity guests, only a handful of tables, and one ambitious owner determined to prove himself. The steaks were prepared with precision. The service felt personal. Word spread quickly. Customers returned. Then they brought friends. Soon, investors noticed. New locations opened. Business grew. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. But despite all that success, almost no one outside Turkey knew his name. That was about to change. Not because of a new restaurant, not because of a famous customer, but because of a video. That lasted less than 40 seconds. And that video would change his life forever. The 5 seconds that built an empire. A poor butcher, a tiny steakhouse, years of relentless hard work. Everything had finally begun to pay off, but nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared Nusret Gökçe for what was about to happen next. Because sometimes, history changes in less than a minute. The video that changed everything, January 2017. It seemed like any other day. Nusret uploaded a short video to Instagram. No expensive production, no marketing campaign, no celebrity endorsement. Just a chef, slicing a perfectly cooked steak. Then came the moment. With complete confidence, he bent his wrist, lifted a pinch of salt, and let it fall gently down his forearm onto the meat. The move lasted only a few seconds, but those few seconds were enough to capture the internet's attention. Within hours, millions of people had watched the clip. Within days, it had spread across every major social media platform. And within weeks, the world had given him a new name, Salt Bae. It wasn't just a nickname, it had become a global brand. The internet creates a superstar. The timing couldn't have been better. Instagram was booming. Memes were dominating the internet. People loved short, unforgettable moments, and Salt Bae had created one. Professional athletes copied his pose after scoring goals. Hollywood actors recreated it on television. Musicians, influencers, even politicians joined the trend. The salt sprinkle became one of the most recognizable internet gestures of the decade. Millions of people who had never visited Turkey suddenly knew exactly who Salt Bae was. His restaurants transformed almost overnight. People weren't just booking dinner anymore, they were booking an experience. They wanted to record the moment, post it online, and become part of the phenomenon. For many customers, the steak became secondary. Meeting Salt Bae was the real attraction. Selling an experience, not just food. As demand exploded, new restaurants opened in Dubai, London, Miami, New York, and several other global cities. Every location followed the same formula: luxury interiors, premium steaks, dramatic presentation. And whenever Salt Bae appeared, every phone in the room came out. The performance was carefully designed: the sunglasses, the gloves, the signature smile, the confident movements. Everything helped create a character people instantly recognized. This wasn't just a restaurant anymore. It was entertainment. It was social media. It was luxury branding. And it worked. Customers spent hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, for a meal they would never forget. For a while, it looked like the formula was unstoppable. But there was one problem. The bigger the brand became, the higher people's expectations grew. And eventually, expectations become impossible to satisfy. You're watching Chill or Feel, and the biggest twists are still ahead. When fame became a liability, success changes people. Sometimes, it reveals who they really are. For years, Salt Bae looked unstoppable. His restaurants were packed, celebrities kept coming, the cameras never stopped rolling. But behind the viral videos, something had quietly begun to change. The internet that once celebrated him was starting to ask difficult questions. The cracks begin to show. At first, the criticism came from food critics. Many praised the atmosphere, but questioned whether the food justified the extraordinary prices. Some reviewers described the experience as memorable, but the meal itself as average. Others argued that customers were paying more for the performance than for the quality of the steak. Online reviews became increasingly divided. Some guests left thrilled, others left disappointed. For the first time, Salt Bae's image wasn't being shaped by viral videos. It was being shaped by customer experiences, and those experiences didn't always match the hype. Fame comes with a price. As the brand expanded around the world, reports about workplace culture also began attracting attention. Several former employees filed legal claims involving wages, tips, and working conditions. The company denied or disputed a number of these allegations, but the lawsuits and media coverage affected public perception. Whether every claim was true or not, the damage was already being done. Because in today's world, reputation isn't decided only in court. It's decided online. Every article, every review, every viral post added another crack to the carefully built image. The same social media that had created Salt Bae was now becoming impossible to control. The World Cup incident. Then came the moment that millions of people still remember. December 2022. Argentina had just won the FIFA World Cup, one of the greatest celebrations in football history. Players embraced their families. Fans celebrated around the world. Then, Salt Bae entered the field. He greeted several players. He posed for photos. And he was seen holding the World Cup trophy. Images and videos spread across social media within minutes. Many fans questioned why a celebrity chef had become part of a celebration meant for the players and officials. The criticism was immediate. The discussion wasn't about food anymore. It was about judgment. For many people, this became the moment when admiration turned into frustration. A brand built on confidence was now being viewed by many as self-promotion. The internet turns after the World Cup controversy. The public conversation changed. People no longer talked only about the famous salt sprinkle. They talked about the criticism, the headlines, the controversies. Some restaurant locations later closed as the business adapted to changing market conditions and demand. The excitement that once surrounded the Salt Bae brand had clearly cooled, not because people forgot the gesture, but because the story behind the gesture had changed. The man who once seemed untouchable was discovering a lesson that many public figures eventually face. Building fame is difficult. Keeping the public's trust is even harder. For years, Salt Bae chased something bigger than success: recognition, attention, fame. But when your brand becomes bigger than your purpose, the fall can be just as dramatic as the rise. The price of fame. Fame is one of the most powerful currencies in the modern world. It can open doors, create opportunities, and build fortunes almost overnight. But fame comes with one condition. The higher you climb, the harder people watch you. And the moment they stop believing in you, everything can begin to fall apart. For Salt Bae, that moment had arrived, when the hype fades. At the peak of his career, Salt Bae wasn't just a chef, he was a global brand. His signature pose appeared in memes, commercials, sporting celebrations, and millions of social media posts. But internet fame moves fast. Every year, a new trend replaces the old one. The same audience that once celebrated him started looking for someone new. Some of his restaurant locations later closed, while others continued operating in a more competitive market. The excitement that once guaranteed packed dining rooms wasn't as strong as it had been during the height of his viral success. The lesson was becoming clear. Going viral can make you famous, but it doesn't guarantee lasting success. The difference between attention and respect. There's an important difference between getting attention and earning respect. Attention can arrive overnight. Respect usually takes years. Salt Bae mastered attention better than almost anyone. He understood social media. He understood branding. He understood how to create moments people wanted to share. But lasting brands are built on more than viral moments. They're built on trust, consistency, quality, and the ability to evolve. History is filled with people who became famous almost instantly. Only a few remained respected decades later. That's the challenge every public figure eventually faces. Not how to become famous, but how to stay relevant for the right reasons. The legacy of Salt Bae. So, how should history remember Salt Bae? As a brilliant marketer? Absolutely. Few people have ever transformed a simple gesture into a global business as successfully as he did. As a talented entrepreneur? Without question. Building an international restaurant brand from humble beginnings is an extraordinary achievement. But his story also reminds us of something else. Success can amplify both strengths and weaknesses. The spotlight doesn't change who you are. It simply makes the world pay closer attention. And in today's digital age, every decision can become tomorrow's headline. Maybe the real story of Salt Bae was never about salt, or steak, or even restaurants. It was about ambition, the dream of escaping poverty, the power of the internet, the excitement of global fame, and the challenge of staying grounded after achieving everything you once dreamed of. Because success isn't measured only by how high you climb. It's measured by whether you can stay there, without losing yourself along the way. And perhaps, that's the most valuable lesson Salt Bae leaves behind. If you enjoyed this documentary, you're going to love what comes next. Here on Chill or Feel, we don't just tell stories. We explore the rise, the fall, and the decisions that shape some of the world's most fascinating people, companies, and ideas. If this video made you think, let us know your perspective in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next documentary. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and remember, every success story has a chapter the world never sees. This is Chill or Feel. Thanks for watching.